The history of Mecca. Did Mecca exist during Abraham's time? This is the second episode, and it's based on Dr. Rafat Amari's book, Islam in Light of History. This is Daniel Amari from the Religion Research Institute. Last time we discussed Agatharchides of Alexandria. He is a very important geographer in the 2nd century BC. And why is that? It's because of the Islamic claims. The Islamic claims state that Mecca was already in existence during Abraham's time. And it states that Mecca continued to be in existence as the most significant city of Arabia, the capital of monotheism, the center of trade of Arabia, until the 7th century AD during Muhammad's time. And this is a very foundational claim for Islam, because the foundation of Islam, of the religion of Islam, is founded on that particular claim. And so when we examine one of the most important geographers and historians of that era, Agatharchides of Alexandria, of the 2nd century BC, he documented all of Western Arabia from south of Jordan till Yemen, but he did not mention Mecca. He documented accurately the uninhabited area where Mecca was later built, but he did not mention Mecca. Expeditions and discoveries from the 7th and 8th century AD confirmed the accuracy of the writings of Agatharchides. The accuracy of his survey is very much accepted by scholars. Now we come to his documentation of the temples. One thing that is very important about his documentation and his work as a geographer, as one of the most important geographers, is his specialty in documentation of temples. So temples were central subject to his studies. Yet he did not mention any temple in the Mecca region. Why is this important? This is very important because the Islamic claims state that Abraham and Ishmael built the temple of Kaaba, which is supposed to be the center of monotheism in whole Arabia, all the way from 2000 BC until Muhammad's time. Yet, Agatharchides, the most important geographer who is specialized in temple, did not mention any temple in Mecca's region. He did actually mention other temples. So he mentioned, for example, one temple located in northern part of the Gulf of Aqaba, and this was in the domain of the Nabateans, north of the Thamudic region. One thing we find about it is that Photios Diodorus and Dionysius confirmed the same exact location. Furthermore, Dionysius and Procopius also confirmed the location and described it as close to Petra by an oasis. Tabuk is the most likely oasis which Islamic literature state that it had a temple which Muhammad worshipped at. Quraysh used to make pilgrimage there in addition to another temple in Ta'if. Muhammad later put stop to this practice after he occupied Mecca. The thing that is very significant about this is that the temples that Agatharchides mentioned were documented and were mentioned by other geographers and historians. That's number one. But number two, also that one of the temples that he mentioned, also the Islamic literature talk about. Yet, the temple of Mecca was not mentioned at all. Any temple in Mecca's region was not mentioned at all, despite the fact that Agatharchides was focusing and specializing in the temples of Mecca. Now, when we look at the works of Agatharchides, we notice the amount of accuracy and details because he consulted at least the following geographers and historians. For example, he consulted the 4th century BC work of Anaxarchratus' voyage. Furthermore, he consulted the works of the 3rd century BC authors who wrote about the Red Sea. For example, Pythagoras, Basilius, Dalion, Bion of Soli, Simonides the Younger, Aristocreon, and Philon. Agatharchides' book has survived in the writings of Strabo, Photios Bibliotheca, Diodorus of Sicolos. Now we come to the late 2nd century BC of Artemidorus of Ephesus. He was a Greek geographer and historian. He wrote 11-book survey of world geography, described the coast of the Red Sea, described the area where Mecca was later built, but he did not mention Mecca. He quoted Agatharchides, was quoted by Strabo. Finally, we come to the 1st century BC expedition by Gallus. Roman expedition documented by Strabo. Strabo accompanied Gallus in his expedition. They passed by the area where Mecca was later built, yet they did not document Mecca. And this is very interesting because that will take us to Strabo. Strabo, from 1st century BC to the 1st century AD, was a Greek geographer. He was sometimes accompanied with Athenodorus, another geographer. He also summarized most important works written by geographers such as Artemidorus and Aristophanes and Agatharchides, yet no mention of Mecca. The conclusion that we come to is that despite the Islamic claim that state that Mecca was already in existence from Abraham's time, 2000 BC, all the way to Muhammad's time, as the most significant city, as the most capital of trade and center of monotheism of Arabia. Yet from the 2nd century BC all the way to the 1st century AD, we covered very important geographers and historians, people who actually visited the area where Mecca was eventually built, passed by it, documented the temples, documented the cities, documented the areas, yet they did not mention Mecca and did not mention the Temple of Mecca. This is Daniel Amari from the Religion Research Institute.